Fuck up. Yeah. Welcome to Detroit, the Motor City streets, where the legends rise and the heartbeats meet. Podcast spinning tales of the 313.
All right, well, welcome back to the Fan Forum podcast show documentary of 2-3 grown men. Nothing else better to do but besides bitch about sports. With me tonight is the remarkable, the stunning, the ever so perfect Hitch.
You keep just raising that bar, man. One day I'm not going to be able to handle it. I'll
Plan on lowering it next week.
Perfect. Set some realistic standards here.
Okay. Actually, I am wearing the Mr. Perfect shirt in honor of you today.
Nice.
As ultimate, and it's funny that I'm wearing this. You're wearing something apparel related to our state.
Totally by accident again, and I get compliments on this a lot. It was in a garbage bag full of clothes that my brother was throwing away. So
Garbage bag clothes usually fit you the best.
True that, man.
Yeah, it's a nice shirt. I like it. It's classic. It's got that worn cigarette burn look. It's perfect for you. It fits the Shakedown Shack, as I ever so called it before we hit this button.
I like the Shakedown Shack. Some people call it the garage. I call it the shop, but the Shakedown Shack, I dig it. I got the Shakedown sign up there. I don't know if you can see it.
I mean, it's just perfect considering we needed something good to name your. We called it the Shanty.
The Shanty. Yeah.
But that was done on some pretty rough pretenses. So
yeah,
we'll call it the Shakedown Shack.
Oh yeah.
Conversation's sake.
Dig it.
So how you feeling tonight, man?
I'm feeling good. I got a new microphone.
See that?
Got a camera upgrade in the works, but I need to order a little bit more adapters, if you will, and had a decent day at work. Was able to take some notes while I was waiting for everybody to jump on. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Good. I like that. I think Wayne said he might hop on later. He's stuck fighting crime over in Canada. All one crime that happened today.
Lots
he is in
of
charge
parking
of fighting.
tickets. Yeah, lots of parking tickets. People importing American maple syrup.
Actually, one of the things I found out today was they did find somebody spray painting, not just in English, but they forgot the French portion as well. So
Oh, Christ.
that is a large felony over there.
I
And
wonder
if you spell labor without a U over there, God willing.
I wonder what the tariffs are on maple syrup.
You know what? I actually like that because I feel like Michigan is missing out on a large maple syrup market that our so-called friends over there in South Detroit, as Wayne so eloquently put it this weekend. I actually wanted to get him on here because he brought up a point about how you've got people that are Canadian and then you have South Detroit people.
Dig
And
it.
I'm thinking to myself, like, I want him to explain that because you and I have grown up on the east side forever, and I think we know more South Detroit people than we know Canadians.
Well,
And it
and
was
I-
interesting once he said that.
I would like to talk to Wayne about us Michiganders who identify as Canadian. It kind of goes both ways. I think I might be a little bit more of an outlier than Wayne, but there's country envy at both sides.
Well, and that ties into our conversation because I asked him the first thing I said when he came over here is, how's Michigan treating you? And it got us onto the whole conversation where, once you get over into that Windsor sector, we're very, very, very similar, but you almost have to go out into these outer regions to get the true Canadian feel, which I never really thought about.
Well, and we can look to Wayne to confirm this or to correct us, but I feel like the further you get like into Canada, just simply the more Canadian people get. The further you get into the middle United States and South, the more American they get.
Yeah, I think that's the perception, but I don't know. It depends on where the middle. If you're talking like the Oklahoma, if you're talking like Tornado Alley, 100%. Yeah, for sure. But like if you're going more to like Tennessee and Kentucky, man, like it's a different. Those states are changing. They're
It's
getting a little bit more with the times.
I hope so. We'll see. Not to get real political, but some of these tariffs, they're going to start affecting down south before they hit here. It could hurt. It could hurt them.
Well, I'll tell you one thing the tariffs haven't affected is Brad Holmes' decision making because Hitch, I want to give you some credit for grounding me and grounding, I think, a lot of Lions fans, all 6 people that listened last week, about not getting too caught up in the spending frenzy and the sit back approach and not trying to win free agency for a meaningless nothing, right? I listened back, and I really got me thinking, you were right. That's why we call you the old wise one.
I wish my wife liked me as much as you guys do, but yeah, I think the window shopping was tempting. There's possibilities are endless day one, but you don't get caught up in that rush. You save the cap money that you fought so hard to recoup, and you do what they did. And I have some notes here. We'll get into it eventually, but we wound up bringing guys back at a cheaper, a better price than it would have been to just flat out re-sign them, I think, for the most part. And we're developing some depth, and that's something that I want to talk about because we don't have a bunch of new free agency signings to talk about this week, at least not for the Lions. I want to talk about the depth that they're placing an emphasis on, and I'm happy with it so far, and we keep making the same goddamn point over and over, but it just leaves the door for us wide open in the draft and still being able to extend some of these guys that we're going to really have to work hard or really want to extend. It's just a good situation to be in, and we didn't go dormant. We added talent to the roster at a cheaper price than most other teams did by the way that they approached free agency. I'm happy. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm happy. And we'll talk about some of the guys that we brought back in at a little bit of a discount. I mean, they were guys that we drafted years ago because we liked. They were guys that were contributing at a high level before they got hurt. And we brought them back. So we're keeping the band back together in the sense where if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Now, we'll talk about some holes that have to be addressed in the coming weeks of free agency and maybe in the draft. But we had a good product. We had a good thing going, and we were able to bring those guys back and still have money on the table to do what we need to do with next year and the year after. It's nothing to worry about, in my opinion.
Well, you made the comment bringing the band back together, and that's exactly what we did. But when you're a 15-2 team, why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, and you're bringing these guys back on contracts that are, what are they again? 1-year deals. Let's call out the first one before I forget. Tim Patrick.
Oh yeah.
$4 million. We called it. We said it. $4 million. The DJ Reed contract, that the only one that we went out and really signed and committed some bigger money to, right? That looks so cheap right now.
Yeah.
Derek Stingley Jr.
Over
his contract.
We did it over 3 years for less than the Patriots paid. What's his name?
Carlton Davis.
So would it be sweet to have Carlton Davis back? Sure. But we got a outside quality Pro Bowl level corner for 3 years, 48, I think.
And I'll tell you what. You asked me, would it be nice to have Carlton Davis back? And I'm going to say no. Because guess what? The comments that both of those gentlemen made. Carlton Davis, I want to get paid. Okay, then you're going to go to a bad team. DJ Reed, I want to go somewhere where they play man and they want to win a championship.
Yeah.
That's the attitude I want to sign for 3 years, $60 million, right? So to me, it's not only, and I'll beat this drum over and over again, but God damn it, Hitch, we're finally the place now that gets the destination discount.
Yeah.
Because they want to come here and they say, this building is oozing with so much winning that not a single person in this building isn't trying to win a Super Bowl. You'll have to forgive me of the free agents that we signed. I believe he's a linebacker we signed to play special teams, but he kind of made the comment and backing it up that, yeah, even the guy that's the maintenance staff in here is trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, it's impressive. It really is.
we're a destination because what we wanted to happen day one from the Campbell Holmes regime happened. They came in, they cleaned it up, they suffered through some miserable losses to get to this point of some really impressive, like record-setting season and a half, if you will. And case in point, the linebacker that you're talking about, Grant Stewart.
Exactly.
I have right here in my notes that he's a Reeves-Maben replacement. Is it an upgrade? Is it a downgrade? Time will tell. But he's a guy that has started, I believe, 19 games over 3-ish years. Last year, when he was asked to start against Miami, and I don't know what week it was. I don't know what QB it was. I don't know where Miami was in the grand scheme of things or the big picture. But when he was asked to start against Miami last year, he had 19 tackles.
That's the attitude, right? And that attitude transitions to the field. It's not that you're coming here to take a starting position and get paid. You're coming here because listen, when I get on the field, I'm going to go nuts for you, right? And I can't say that enough, and I can't bottle that up into one word that really gets me this excited because, I was having a good conversation with a coworker as I was leaving today about just on the attitude, changing your attitude and what that brings to the field, right? And that's a prime example. We named 2 players that we brought here that the one thing that makes that one connected is the fact that they want to come here and they want to destroy, and they know we do that.
On paper and on film, they fit the mold. I have right here written down that Grant Stewart, another guy we've yet to talk about, Roy Lopez, you can sum it up in one word, man. It's football player, right? Football guy, grit on tape. They're showing
grit.
you what you want to see. They're locker room guys. They're football guys. Back to Grant Stewart. Not only can he start if you need him to, hopefully we don't get to a point where he's our every down starter for any prolonged period of time, but you get to this point where you've developed this depth. You're developing the depth, and you're bringing in a guy that can play every special team, just like Maven, right? You're looking at a potential special teams captain in his first year. It's a great move.
I like the player comparison, because I was actually surprised to see Maven leave because he was a captain, he was a special teams contributor, and he seemed to be having his stock on the rise.
Well, if you recall, he left and got low-end starting money from the Houston Texans a couple years ago, put together a fair season. But then when he was informed that his snap counts weren't going to increase, his role was going to be the same, he came right back home. I mean, doesn't surprise me that we cut him. I should rephrase it. It surprised me a little that we cut him, but when I saw the Grant Stewart signing, it all made a lot more sense. Younger, brings a little bit of a different athleticism to the table, but he's going to play every special team. He's going to start if we need him to. He might very well be a locker room leader before we kick off game one. It just makes sense.
Well, you know what else makes sense is we have a special teams Canadian legend that just hopped on with us.
Hell yeah.
Wayne, hello. Good evening. Good afternoon.
Good evening, fellas. First of all, cheers. Don't look at my drink.
Cheers.
Cheers. And yeah, good evening. Forgive my tardiness, but here we are. What are we talking about? What do we got going on?
Well, we were just breaking down the free agent signings for the Lions and kind of, how the names that we brought in weren't big, flashy names, but they were guys that fit the build. They fit the grit mentality. Grant Stewart is somebody that Hitch and I were talking about. Hitch was bringing up Roy Lopez, which I was actually excited that you brought that up because that's the nose tackle that I think we're going to really like this year. I think he's going to have that Rodrigo how do I say that?
The
Impact on our
BDE.
hearts.
He's going to have
Yeah,
the BDE.
yeah,
And
he
Big
is.
Detroit Energy.
I feel like that's one of those jerseys that, maybe week 2, week 3, we're talking about, all right, let's get a Roy Lopez jersey.
yeah, it's like you're Rudy, you know.
He's a rotational player. Oh, go ahead, Wayne. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say he's just gonna be sounds like a guy you're gonna be able to cheer for. I'm not familiar with him, but tell me a little bit about what you're gonna say there, Hitch.
Well, yeah, I don't think you're the only one, Wayne, not familiar with them. I mean, he did get some meaningful snaps. He is a little bit of a wrecking ball. He's gonna come in and play nose. He's not gonna be a guy that I'm aware of that's gonna slide around and stunt around and move around. He's coming in to play nose, and he's coming in to give depth, and he's coming in, I believe, with the express purpose of being able to spell Reader, who's coming up on the wrong side of 30. Still a good player, still a wrecking ball against the run game, but last year with Anzarike going down, with John Kaminsky going down early, we're building the depth, and we're doing it with a locker room guy. I think I said last week that there was kind of some rumors that Holmes wasn't shy about being interested in him. He was talking to the Cardinals at the combine, bringing in a locker room fit at an affordable price that can fit into the culture and then provide the depth that we didn't have last year. It's just another no-brainer.
That's a really good contract. The type of guy that you're describing, the potential you can get out of that. That's for 1 year, 3.5. That's a friggin' steal, man. I
think so. And I think we had just mentioned Tim Patrick at $4 million. The relative deal that we got for Reed from the corner coming in from the Jets. This is what happens when you don't get too excited day one. But you're looking at these players, not Lopez and Grant Stewart, but you're looking at a guy like Reed, who across the board was in the top 5 in the free agent group of his position, nationally ranked in across the top 150 in this class. I've seen him as high as 6. I've seen him at 9. Getting him for 3 years for under 50, and then you're looking at the contracts that went out right before that and right after that. There's the Weasel. What's up, dude?
Say what up, Weasel.
What up, Gango?
Get that boy some headphones and let's go.
Yeah, we got to get you logged in upstairs, bro. He had to come down for his Coca-Cola. Hey, can you not jump upstairs like your life is depending on it? Thank you, sir. They call him the Weasel for a reason.
I need to be introduced to this legend.
One pride.
There you go. You go. Kid's full of grit. Man? Kid's got some grit.
Kid's got grit all day.
Yeah,
he's testing the waters. I knew he was coming down. I'm like, oh, he wants to see what this is all about.
Oh,
he just
got
missed
the headphones
me.
On. Oh, he's on video. He's not of age.
He'll be on.
He just missed me. He wanted to come in and see my face, make sure I was up to game here.
Yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff to talk about.
I'm sure he does.
Hitch, I didn't mean to interrupt your discussion because I think you were spot on with these contracts.
I think so. I think it just makes a lot of sense. And again, it just reiterates that you don't have to make the huge splash. We brought back guys that we drafted because we liked, guys that were developing before injury. We brought them, almost all of them, but I would say maybe Barnes back at a fair market discount, a hometown discount, and there's still free agency left. I feel like so many people are freaking out, but there's still free agency left, and it leads us right up to the draft. We're in great shape.
Well, tell me your favorite signing and the worst signing.
It's really hard to pick a worse signing because we really didn't go out and throw a bunch of contracts around. I'm actually looking at this right now. You know what I really like, though? I like the strategy of how we went back and got Levi Anzarike. I think that's the one that I like the most at a discount because last week Hitch and I were having a discussion about day one, you've got the big contracts that go out. Day 2 and day 3, okay, am I really in a hurry to go get these guys? Because that day 2, day 3 market hasn't been set. And after Milton Williams went out and got a bag from the Patriots, and all the other D tackle DNs that were kind of in that Levi Anzarike field went out and got some double digits. You guys signed Joey Bosa, $12 million, and we get him for a bag of nickels on a 1-year deal. I love it. That's the strategy I like the most.
How much did he sign for?
5.5
million.
5.5 for a year.
Yeah, it's reasonable. It's reasonable.
Yeah, it's a great.
For his level
We're
of
bringing
production.
you back to earn a position, and if not, we bring you back for depth. It doesn't say, "Welcome to the team. You have a starting role, Derek Barnes." That's what his contract says.
So now that we're on to this Levi topic here, let me read you guys some statistics here. Well, let me preface it with every player that we brought in, either familiar to us as part of this organization or a new addition, they all have more upside. They're all upside players. And Levi's win rate was 9.7%. If you look around the league, that places him in the top 15 of win rate for all D tackles. So that makes him win healthy, win on the field, in the upper echelon of starting D tackles when you're only looking at win rate. Let's just look at that for right now. Now, when you're looking at his 1 year 5.5, let's talk about some of these other D tackles. I'm going to tell you their win rates, and then we can talk about how much they're making. Uncle Milt Williams, 12.5% win rate. Puts him just above McNeil. I think McNeil's at like 11 and a half, right? You got Wharton, 8.2. A little bit better. Then you have Javon Kinlaw, 6.9, just under 7. And as previously stated, you have Levi at 9.7, right? Almost 10. Now, in this order, Uncle Milt, 26 million. Wharton, 18 million. Kinlaw, 15 million. Levi, 5.5.
That's why I love it. And that's why I'm telling you, Hitch, you are the wise one.
Well, when you look at upside, that's huge. When he's on the field, he wins. As much as the elite, you get him for 5.5.
Okay, so outside opinion here. First of all, I have two questions. First of all, you keep saying when he's on the field. Is there an issue with injuries, or what's preventing him from being this elite player that you guys are describing right now?
So to give you a little bit of history on him that maybe you don't have, not being in Detroit per se, he was drafted in the same draft as McNeil, back to back, right? We've said before that Brad Holmes likes to attack positions. He did it with D tackle, he did it with offensive line, he did it with corner. He likes to attack a weakness in the draft with multiple picks. At least that's what history has told us. And McNeil took a minute to break out and to develop, but he developed into a upper echelon D tackle. Now he's dealing with the knee injury. We'll see what happens. But Levi had a knee injury when we drafted him. Came into camp. I can't remember if he came in injured, like IR, designated to return, or if he exacerbated the injury in camp. And then he came back and got a back injury, lower back injury, required surgery, and he was damn near going to get a injury distinction and allowed to retire with some extra money. The way that works when you get an injury distinction like that is you retire and you keep some of your bonuses. So at this point, early last offseason, we were looking at this kid, probably the consensus was never playing meaningful football again and getting that injury distinction retirement. But he came back and stayed healthy all year. He wasn't used as a starter. He was used as a rotational player. Now, he only had 1.5 sacks. You would have to look at the snap count to see where that kind of lines up, comparing him to some other dudes here. But when on the field as a rotational player, even though it didn't translate to sacks, he was disruptive. That win rate was huge. I think he had 18 or 19 quarterback pressures and hurries. He can play against the run. And unlike Reeder or our new guy Lopez, he can slide around a little. He's a big dude, and he's built like a D tackle, but in certain packages, he can play on the outside and bring pressure. He can play over center and bring pressure. So going back to this idea of when on the field, he wins at an elite level, there's still something to be said for how healthy can he stay? Can he become a more heavily involved rotational type player? That's remains to be seen, but therein we got him for 5.5, and the upside there, seeing that he stayed healthy and when played was dominant for 5.5 is awesome. So that's a little bit of long-winded history there, but 5.5, kind of sad to see him go because of the potential and because of his journey to get to where he was. Bring him back at 5.5 for 1 year. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Basically a prove-it deal for him, right? And he reminds me of Ed Oliver. I'm looking at this guy's metrics here, and they're more or less the same weights. I think he might have Oliver by an inch or two, but very similar type of player, disruptive. You see that the potential there in terms of tackles, or where do you see Onzurike in terms of what his potential ceiling is?
I think if it's a big if injury is not the concern that it once was, and he can become a guy that gets 25, 35 upwards of maybe even 40% of defensive snaps, he's a steal. And we would have to, if healthy, readdress his, I don't know what the incentives are in the contract, but like you said, with a prove it kind of deal, he's going to be a player that if he pans out, he's going to be worth every bit as much money as some of these upper echelon D tackles. And we can deal with that if it happens. That's a good problem to have. But for right now, we got him and he's healthy and he's coming off his most productive season and we got him at a discount. And all of these numbers that we're comparing and these bags that these other D tackles got, they're every down dudes. They are absolutely every down dudes. So it's not apples to apples. But when you look at that win rate, that's something that jumped off the page. 11%, 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but it means that at least once a drive on average, you're getting through, you're winning, and you're getting to the quarterback, making him uncomfortable. That's huge.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's a very efficient contract. Low payout for the potential ceiling that he has, as you describe, is, I would say that's good management. So, there's only upside to that, and like you said, right, if he doesn't pan out, you only pay him $5 million, and he's out the door. So, yeah, right on.
And we brought in Lopez, and even though different positions, similar, same group of guys, we brought in Lopez, and I think conventional wisdom says we'll take at least one pass rusher and one defensive tackle in this draft. And I mean, it's just no risk, so much ceiling, so much chance for reward without the risk to make him part of that positional group. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's a nice depth piece to have.
Yeah. What do you think, Mark?
Hold up.
Breaking news. Guess what?
I see your eyeballs.
Aaron
What's
Rodgers
up?
signed somewhere with the Steelers.
Jeff Okudah joined the Vikings.
Oh, yeah, I heard that earlier.
Jeff Okudah joins the Vikings.
And then they got him on a 1 year. Was it 1 year for $6 million?
It should have been $6.25.
Jeff fucking Okudah.
No, man, quite honestly, Wayne asked me, you already said which one do you not like. Hitch, you summarized it all. We got value. We have depth. We're not obligated to pay him long term. And God damn it, we didn't rock the boat. That was my bigger concern, was not bringing in guys that are going to disrupt, because C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and I'm going to go out here and say it, didn't have grit and was not a good fit for this locker room. And I think that's the one player that slipped through the cracks that Brad Holmes is saying, I'm never doing that shit again, because the Eagles traded his ass away. seems like if you've got a deep room, you can bring guys in like that, maybe on 1-year deals if you really think they can help you. But I'm really glad we've moved away from getting guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
We've
And I
moved
know
away.
he's watching, so that's why I'm saying that.
We've moved away from guys that will disrupt the locker room and the culture. There's
essentially
room
that's
here
what
for
this is.
somebody like there's room here for somebody like C.J. Gardner-Johnson as long as he's not a disruptive asshole, right? Bring him in if you can keep his mouth shut. Bring him in on the condition that he deletes his Twitter and doesn't do interviews, maybe. But he went after one dude late in that offseason that was sitting there obviously for a reason. And what did Rod Marinelli say? He is who we thought he was, right?
Ah, shit. That ain't Rod Marinelli, and I had that ready for us, too.
Dennis Green, maybe? Dennis Green? Lot of awesome press conference Dennis Green drops. Even dropping his pants, right?
Yeah, shit, I forgot what we were talking about. I got thrown off there.
We're no worries. We were talking about we were talking about the addition of Levi, the C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I think the thing was
yes.
what was Mark's
Culture.
least favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could really add some support to that in that belief because the Bills went through the exact same thing with obviously guys like Stephon Diggs. And I mean, not guys like that guy go through that drama, and to get a guy of his talent, but his ilk, get that out of the locker room. You think you make it's a huge loss, but it's actually a gain to the morale of the team. And now guys can play free, right? People don't realize the impact that feeling has on people. And shit, look what happened. Josh Allen loses his number one perceived receiver on paper and goes and wins the MVP the next year with less talent, right? So does talent always win? Maybe, but it's really how you allocate your resources in terms of your depth, but it's also the culture, man. And it's doing things like that where you recognize that there's shift disturbers, that they're A+ players, but they're B+ locker room guys. They're disruptive and they're assholes, and they just sometimes your image and the culture that you're creating, the brand is more important than out winning games on the field, right? And the better teams that follow that creed, or the teams that follow that creed are usually the better teams. And then you have the teams like the Cowboys who are a clown show, and they'll take anybody off the street to come play football, right? And it's just, again, that's one thing where a deep dive can really look into the culture of some of the great teams and the coaches behind those teams and what they do differently from the guys who aren't as successful.
Absolutely.
Well, did you see DeMarcus Lawrence comment on the clown show that he left in Dallas?
Exactly.
I mean, he told Micah Parsons straight up, he said, good luck winning a championship in that shitty organization.
Exactly. Called out Parsons for prioritizing, almost seemed like he's prioritizing his podcast over the football team. And, and things like that really, people don't see. And they wonder why teams aren't doing as well, even though they should be. So, yeah, I'm supportive of that idea for sure.
Well, let's talk about that right now because Aaron Glenn kicks Aaron Rodgers off the Jets for shit like that. The Steelers give him a contract, and he's still out there at the Joshua Tree dicking around, not signing a deal. You're 40 years old, and the NFL's still going to pay you money. Yeah. Let's make this decision now. I'm getting sick of this shit.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised at all. It's perfectly on brand with Aaron Rodgers. And you know what I love? I love that he pretends to be this like complete absconding from the rules, and he's this I don't know, almost like guru. But wouldn't you like to find out that he's a Fed and that him and Roger Goodell have this whole plan and how to get this good guy bad guy thing going? Because nobody gives a shit about Aaron Rodgers anymore, yet there's a Netflix documentary. Pat McAfee still talks to him. I mean, I'm sick of this.
Yeah, they're holding on to
catch me up to speed here. Catch me up to speed. the Steelers offered a contract to Aaron Rodgers and he's off on a retreat and not signing that offer? Is that what I'm getting from this?
I'm not sure what the deal is. I thought he
Am I
was
the
in
only one
talks
that
with the
follows this piece
Giants.
of shit?
I thought he was talking with the Giant, kind of playing the fence there with the Giants and the Steelers. I don't know what's going on.
While Mark looks this up, I will say that this is such a quarterback needy league that Aaron Donald just got a bag from Seattle. The Raiders enthusiastically traded for Geno. You're looking at 3 quarterbacks in this draft that are probably worse than Aaron Richardson, but they're on the rise. So the fact that Aaron Rodgers...
You said Aaron Darnold. You did it again.
Sam Darnold, right?
Yeah.
God damn it. You got to keep calling me out. I get all fired up.
That's why we got sound effects now. Thank you, Wayne,
Yep.
for
Hold up.
But with such a quarterback
love
needy
that button.
league, it doesn't surprise me at all that he has suitors, but you're telling me that he got an offer and he hasn't signed it?
Yeah.
That's what I swear I read that. I'm looking for confirmation.
I know they-
on here. I swear that he had.
I think they brought back in Justin Fields, right?
The Jets. He went to the Jets.
Justin Field went to the Jets.
Yes, sir. That's their starting quarterback.
See, that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, the Jets are a dumpster fire, but if you're courting a guy like Justin Fields, there's going to be a place in this league for Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers, back to Mark's point, he's the guy that owns a guitar and brings it to every bonfire but has no idea how to play it. He's the guy that goes to like a Grateful Dead concert, but his favorite song is Touch of Grey. He's a fucking poser. No taking away from the fact that he is a phenomenal, or once was a phenomenal talent, but he's a poser. If he wants to
And you know
pose
who
as an
I am,
elite
Hitch?
quarterback, he'll get paid.
You know what this podcast is? You know Animal House?
Yeah.
You know when that guy's playing the guitar, I gave my love.
Are you the one that
We
eviscerates it against the wall?
No, we are D-Day. This whole podcast is D-Day.
Yeah.
No, it was Belushi that
They
did that.
smash the shit out of it and scream, "Shut the fuck up!" Right?
It's like that's what we're saying right now. I want to take his bullshit guitar that he can't play and smash it against the wall and throw it at Roger Goodell and say, "Shut the fuck up right now. I'm done with this."
He literally has a dragon tattoo. Like, he's the guy that goes to these retreats and sings Kumbaya and literally has a dragon tattoo that, like, symbolizes infinity, right? Yeah, he sucks.
You know he can breathe fire. I can guarantee you he breathes fire.
Well, he can throw the football too, but he's
Throw the football. He's got some heat on it for sure.
he's got weak ankles.
Yeah.
Does have weak ankles.
Now seeing him
Okay, I
twice
don't
a
have
year,
anything confirmed that there's a contract out there, but it just sounds like he's got a verbal offer of you're ready to come play, come play. I don't know. I'm just fed up with him. He's 41. I'm just done, dude.
Yeah.
I keep waiting for him to get a contract from Minnesota, and then we'll get the he'll be able to fraud Medicaid and send out dick pics and all the shit. History just repeats itself.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's got conspiracy written all over it, but I feel like Kevin O'Connell said, no, I don't want you here. No thanks. I'm good. If there's a coach that's not going to be told what to do, it's Kevin O'Connell or Dan Campbell. They know what they want out of their team.
Culture guy, man. People respect him. He's
Yeah.
a leader of men. He knows what's up.
Well, and
He is.
the Vikings are absolutely just riding or dying with JJ McCarthy. They put out a hype video the other day, and it reminded me of like those hype videos that like you might make on your phone for your kid that plays football, right? Like it's little man boy JJ McCarthy like strutting through the tunnel with his dumbass obnoxious amount of eye black on and his stupid curly hair.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
Someone doesn't
hold
like
up.
JJ.
Oh, there's nothing to like about him, dude. We've coined the term beneficiary on this podcast. He was the beneficiary of a great fucking Michigan team, but national champion, I think not. You put any former Michigan quarterback on that team, they're winning a national championship, dude. I'm not talking about, look at him. Who was the kid that was drafted by the Jets that fucked his mom's
Wilson.
friend? Zach Wilson. He looks like a 12-year-old Disney Channel version of a kid playing a quarterback, right? He's the Justin Bieber right now of the NFL, but not as talented. And they're riding or fucking dying with him. They're riding or dying with him and making these
They
big
have to.
productions like he's the Darth fucking Vader of the NFC North. He can get.
I'm pretty sure they drafted or they traded up some draft capital to grab him. And I think he went 10th overall. So when you're going that high, that's like you're all or nothing.
Of course, they put all their eggs in this basket, but I mean, he's just he needs the running back to be able to hand that ball off to 74 times a game. If you want him just to feed your tight ends on shallow routes across the middle, run the wheel routes, he's your guy, dude. Don't get me wrong, but he's not going to be able to get the ball out to Justin Jefferson. He's not going to be able to get the ball out to any of their over the top weapons. And who's their fucking running back?
Who would they sign? I know they got Jordan
They
Mason.
bring Aaron Jones back.
Aaron Jones just got a little bag, but I don't remember who from.
I think it's possible that they brought him back. And I think they traded for Jordan Mason recently.
You're right. They did trade for Jordan Mason from San Francisco.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have a retread Jordan Mason. You don't have. I mean, they're a good team. I'm not saying they're not a good team, but this false hubris or this straw man complex or straw man argument that they're forming for Justin Jefferson is so self-serving. It's ridiculous. They want to keep their job, so they're just going to keep telling us that he's the heir apparent. He's shitty.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'd rather have him than Sam Darnold at
Are you talking about
$100 million.
JJ shitty or Jettas is shitty?
I'd rather have JJ McCarthy over Sam Darnold.
I mean, maybe because you don't know what the upside is. With Sam, you know what you're getting, and $100 million is a big bag, but what are
That's
they
a
paying
huge
him?
bag.
He's drafted in the top 10. He's getting big quarterback money.
Well, that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. You've already
not
drafted him.
risky
You've already
deal.
committed the money to him.
You've
You're
committed.
not-
You've
there's-
committed to
There's
him.
no way they were going to pay. There's no way they were going to get $100 million for Sam Darnold. Those Vikings fans were ready to pay that guy $400 million, and he shit the bed. They wanted to quietly exit him out of town and forget that experience ever happened.
Well, and all of that speaks to the state of the quarterback situation in the National Football League. It's trash. It's absolute
It's hot
trash.
garbage. And I'm glad you bring this up because here we go again with the NFL jamming. I'm sorry, quarterbacks down our throat. Even Charlie Campbell has Cam Ward now going number 1. And nothing against these guys. I'm sure they're great athletes. I'm sure they're nice fellas, but they're not NFL-ready quarterbacks. They're overhyped.
Do me a favor and pull up what Charlie Campbell is saying about Dart after the combine, because I heard something on the radio today that blew my fucking mind. I'm not saying that Dart might not be one of the better quarterbacks in this class, but see what Charlie Boy has to say about Dart.
See what Charlie Boy
Without
has to
reading
say
that
about
article,
you.
I thought I saw that Dart was projected to go in the top 5 in the latest mock. And
What I heard
thing
today
blew my mind.
Yeah, exactly. What I heard today was a soft mock, just a radio mock that had him going 9th. So if that's the state that we're in right now with these fucking QBs across the league, like a guy like Dart going 9th, maybe our viral moment will be 5 years from now when he's the next Tom Brady and you got my fat ass talking about him not being a good quarterback, but everything he's put on tape in his combine doesn't scream to me 9th, but teams reach for quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's it. They're reaching, trying to find the next. Not even that, just finding the next one. I think, yeah, like you said, they jammed quarterback and the need for a quarterback down our throats at the highest paid position on the team, and teams feel like that they have to force that upon the team when there's an opportunity or there's a veteran that's not doing as well. So I agree that it's a position that gets reached on quite a bit. Last year, admittedly, I thought it was a bit of a reach to take, Penix and McCarthy, but Penix proved to be a solid football. But all those quarterbacks proved to be great. All could have technically been top 10,
Yeah,
Which he was
in hindsight, that was a good class, but let's
Yeah.
be honest though, it's still a small sample size. A guy like Penix went to a place with a bunch of weapons, and good for him, man. He had a good year, but it's also relative. The top teams are the shittiest teams unless you make a trade. So you're setting a quarterback up for failure. Their outliers are the Matthew Staffords of the world that get drafted so high to one of the shittiest teams and then have a good career. The whole system is set up for failure, and you're paying these unproven kids just the biggest bags in the league, hoping that they're serviceable. I mean, it's ridiculous.
All right, so this is going to prove to you goofballs why you need to start listening to me when I say Charlie Campbell has the most accurate mock draft. Stay off all that other fucking garbage. I type in NFL draft quarterbacks into the Google machine, right? The headline from NFL.com: Sanders, Ward, Dart, go 1, 2, 3.
At their
I
position.
don't know what mock drafts you're looking at.
Are you talking
Not even
about
at their
1, 2, and
position.
3 at their position, or 1, 2, and 3 overall?
Going 1, 2, 3 overall.
So what is it? Tennessee.
And that's
Who's
just
who-
is there a
Charlie
trade?
Campbell does not even have Dart in the first round. So
Rightfully
you're going
so.
versus consistency, who always gets it right, versus the hype train of all these other garbage mock drafts that, I'm sorry, are basically the equivalent of fake news. I mean,
So do you think this Dart situation is smoke and mirrors, similar to when people around here wanted us to trade up for Justin Fields?
it's some garbage disinformation so that they can bring some kid in because they have to have 3 quarterbacks that they can talk about. It's the number of 3. You always have to have it. And they've only had 2 quarterbacks to talk about. They got to have Brady Quinn sitting there on the draft board, slipping and having some sob story. You know that's what they're going to do half the fucking draft coverage.
Does
It's
Charlie
Well,
talk
every
like
draft
these?
year, every year, there's always the fatigue factor when it comes to the top players, and there's always a guy thrown in the mix who's gonna shake things up or has a great combine or some shit like that. So, it's regular pre-draft preamble that things shit every year.
Yeah, it's just proof positive year in and year out that teams draft quarterbacks too high. I mean, we live in a world where Kenny Pickett was drafted in the first round and was out of his city, out of Pittsburgh,
I
in a
wonder
year
when
and a
the hype
half.
train started up for Kenny Pickett during that draft,
So,
when that pre-hype started on him.
That
I think
was
it
just
when he pulled
notoriously
that
a
move,
bad
that
draft.
fake slide move. Remember that?
There you go.
That rocketed him up the boards. I don't remember that.
No, I think that just started like the hype train on him, and then that brought him some attention for the remainder of the season. But
Yeah, I'm not even talking about anything they do physically that they do at the combine, Hitch. I'm talking about someone says, we need a third quarterback to hype up. Let's get a story going to get this third quarterback being talked about. Because to your point, these owners fall for this shit. Like we know Matt Millen did with his GM masterful general management ship, where they buy these hype trains and they start watching all these commercials and they start listening to Mel Kiper and Todd McShay do their crap about certain guys. And I'm thinking, okay, where did this name come from? Why are they just talking about him now? And if I'm looking at an accurate mock draft, he's not even being mentioned. To me, it's Russian disinformation. All right. Well, I'll kick it back to you while I look for round 3 of this mock draft, because I'm going to tell you right now that this guy isn't even going to be on 2 or 3 rounds.
You talking about Dart still?
Yeah, I'm talking about Dart.
Yeah. I think he'll go. I think he'll go.
yeah, I think he'll go first round still. Some team will
Yeah.
reach, like we said, and he's put enough on tape just from his combine and the hype train that some team will definitely reach on him. I've seen him mocked in the first round quite a bit.
I think you're right, Wade. I think he'll go. I don't see. I mean, he probably will go top 10 at this rate. I don't see him being talented to be as talented as a top 10, especially in a draft that features pass rushers and big dudes in a league that so emphasizes getting after the quarterback. It would just be a huge misstep, I think, for a quarterback hungry team to draft and then put stock in and waste time with developing Dart. I view Dart as like a Bailey Zappi guy. Would it be nice to have Bailey Zappi in your quarterback room? Sure. But is Bailey Zappi living in a world where he should have went in the top 10 or 15? He's living in a world where he's a better quarterback than his draft stock, but not a guy that should go in the first half of the first round.
No, he's another example of hot garbage that totally he's being signed by the Chiefs to back up Patrick Mahomes. He'll get 3 preseason games. He's on a 1-year deal. He got overhyped.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's the next Zach Wilson, basically.
He's got more picks than he does touchdowns over his career.
Would you rather trade a 3rd or 4th round pick for a guy like Hendon Hooker or draft I almost said Bailey Zappi. Draft Dart 10th or 12th overall?
I would rather do none of that.
I mean, if you were forced with a choice, I think you would have to go with Hendon. He's got better tape. He's more athletic. I'm not saying that Dart's a piece of shit. Sure. Value-wise, yeah. Dart might make us all eat our words, but it's not... if I was the Giants, they got bigger trouble, dude. They don't have a quarterback right now, but the big picture... don't draft for need, man. Draft for who you think is the best athlete and gives you the most production. You can limp through a year with the Italian Stallion. You can limp through a year with a guy like Bailey Zappi. You can limp through a year and hope that next year's class is better, next year's free agency hits different, but people are going to reach on a quarterback, and you know why that's good for us or good for Buffalo or good for anybody else that doesn't need a QB is a guy that should have went in that spot slips, and therein starts the waterfall trickle-down effect where someone's going to be available to you that you didn't logically mock there.
Yeah.
What else we got here? We covered the new additions to the Lions. We're all very happy that Tim Patrick came back. We talked about Lopez. We talked about Reed. We talked about Stroud. We even mentioned Davenport. Maybe we pull up a list of available free agents.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to what you guys what your guys' thoughts are on the position of the team after free agency and if it's affected the draft strategy, and even like, are you guys confident that the free agency period has made your team better?
Mark, why don't you go first?
Oh, I mean, we've retained all the talent that we had last year on a 15-2 team, so we're right back to where we needed to be. I mean, the only way we get better for next year is just adding a little bit more depth and a little bit more younger in the position, so we're primed to be better, that's for sure.
I tend to agree. I think the only loss in free agency that we've yet to cover is Zeitler going to Tennessee. That leaves Mahogany, who looked really good given his chance. In his draft overall, he graded out at like a top 100 or 150 prospect. We got him in the 6th round. So he's an affordable player. But at this point in his career, I would prefer at least that he remain a depth piece that's allowed to gain valuable game experience as needed on the left and right side guard. Other than that, we have Glasgow, who I have always liked. I liked him when he was here. I liked him when he was in Denver. I was happy that he came back, but he's old. He's often injured now. So I think once Mark pulls up this list of available free agents, I think that wouldn't shock me at all if we brought in a guy that can play left or right guard at a higher level, more consistently, less injured than Glasgow, and a guy that can allow Mahogany to be that rotational depth piece as needed to let him develop into the starter that I think he probably is. But like part of your question, I think, is where do I think we stand? And I think we have work to do. I think what we did allows us to do whatever we feel is right in the draft. We're not in a position where we have to reach for anybody. But that guard position, specifically the right, I believe, is troublesome to me for all those reasons I just mentioned. And I think that if we're going to make it, I think we'll make more than one move, but if we acquire another starter in this free agency period, it should be on the offensive line.
You guys have a project.
Yeah, and I feel like if we're going to do that, it'll be with a trade.
Yeah,
Possibly.
you guys actually have a project guy right now with the Canadian kid that got drafted, I think last year, 2 years ago, Manu something or another, long last name. Look into him and see where his development's at, because he could be that guy coming up for the reason why they didn't
And
have to attack that position.
I think he's there, but I've been led to believe at least that he is still very raw. Um, what is he, man? Like 6'9" or some shit. He's
Huge.
just a
Yeah, just a
mountain of a
massive.
person. He's a mountain of a person. But I don't want to go into this season. He's a development player. I don't want to go into this season thinking that he's our rotational piece or that depth piece that could save us if needed. I like him. I like where their head was at. He is a freakishly large human, but I still think if we're going to spend some money, it should be on O-line. You got the list up yet, Marcus?
Yeah, pull that up.
Put a new case on my phone. I don't know if you guys can even see it because it's so camouflage. Can you see it?
I cannot.
Yeah, weird, right? It's like invisible,
No, all I see is Sparty.
right? Go green.
What's the score? Can anyone check the game? I think it's San Fran versus Alabama, South Alabama.
Is this the start of the tournament?
Yeah, the first playing game started at 6:30.
Let's see. Let's see.
Have you guys talked about in the meantime here your thoughts or the thoughts on the strategy of the Bengals? They're investing all their capital in their three-headed monster there.
I mean, I feel like it's sweet. I feel like they're all undeniably talented. And when we just got done talking about the state of quarterback play and contracts across the league, they got a good one. But preface all of that with they're allocating their money like I did when I played Madden, right? They're just handing out money to these skilled players when money might be better spent somewhere else, you know?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It really hamstrings your ability to add some of those depth pieces, at a marginal price, but also pay and retain the guys that you are trying to develop. There, that they just lost Trey Hendrickson, coming off two tremendous seasons. As far as I
Two
think,
17 sack seasons, man. Two
is he still
17 sack seasons.
available? He's not a free agent, right? He was asking for a trade.
No, he's been asking for
trade.
he's been asking for a trade, and unless I miss something, I think he's still a Bengal. Only because the price is too high. Last couple of weeks, I've been talking about bringing him in. What would we give up for him? I'm happy to give up some capital, but to be honest with you, I didn't realize that he had 17 sacks in the last two seasons. At this point in time, if the Lions did it, I wouldn't be mad about it, but I don't think I want to pay the price, and I don't think most teams across the league want to pay the price that they're asking. So to my knowledge, he will remain a Bengal.
Yeah. Until what? So he's on for another year, then he's a free agent next year.
Unless he has another freak year and they decide to franchise tag him or something, because now they have their offensive weapons locked down, so the tag is available to them, but he already doesn't want to be there. So they gotta break the bank to franchise a guy that doesn't want to be there. We'll see how that plays out. If he turns into a Lion, great, dude. But 17 sack seasons, I don't want to give up the draft capital or the talent off of this roster that it would take.
Yeah, and then you'd have to, and he wants an extension, so he would probably hold out until he got that. So you gotta factor that part of it into.
For sure, dude. And I think we have the money to go ahead and be able to do it. But down the road, does that mean that we're sacrificing someone else that was a key component of what we're doing? Is that Branch? Is that
could be on
Laporta,
like you just talked about? Yeah, Laporta.
Well, yeah, it could be Laporta. It could be one of these bigger pieces. And I'm not above moving on. I mean, we're not going to be able to keep all these guys together. Not if we want to keep Aiden Hutchinson. There's just no way, at least at this point in time, that I can see them being able to keep all these cats from last year together for more than another year or two. But when you start talking about wheeling and dealing capital and or or talent, and then having to re-sign, you got to really think about it, man. Do you want a guy like Hendrickson, or do you want to keep a guy like Laporta and Branch? You know.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to give up on not give up on. They're talented. I'm willing to give away a guy like Branch or lose a guy like Laporta, but essentially that would be a great problem to have. That means that we hit big in this draft, or that we acquired somebody huge that paid off, that we're keeping, right? That's a good problem to have. You can't keep them all together for their whole career, but I don't think that Hendrickson's the guy to do that, and I don't think that this is the time where we need to do that.
Yeah. I'm going back to the Higgins, Chase, and Burrow situation there, how to set up your franchise. I don't know. You can fact check me with terms of the numbers, but I'm pretty sure those three comprise anywhere between 50 and 60% of the cap for the team whenever it hits. So I get 50% of the cap to three guys is really going to limit your talent pool when it comes to full. So you either have to nail the draft or make sure and hope to God that your development program and your trainers can get these guys to a level where they're playing as all pros within the contract that they're currently on. So I'm not too crazy about that strategy. I'm a big fan of identifying players. You talked about Branch, you talked about Laporta. I'm a big fan of identifying guys who come in from day one and produce, and those are the guys you want to keep on your team because those guys will continue to produce. Production is the best indicator of your value, and you don't want to get rid of those guys no matter what. But it's all about creating smart contracts, which I think Brad Holmes is pretty good at, and it's going to be challenging. Again, from an outside perspective, it's a really curious situation on how you guys are going to manage this, knowing that the talent is coming to a point where all of them are going to need to get paid, and how is Brad going to navigate through these waters to keep as many of the studs as he can while adding while adding free agents that are going to contribute to the team going forward.
Well, and smart contracts and strategic bonuses and strategic early extensions are all well and great, but back to this idea of the Branches and the Laportas of the world, if they don't want to be here, we can take that big bag and go get dudes that want to be here. So with a guy like Trey Hendrickson or a guy like the receiver from Cincinnati, the one that just got the bag. Again, I'm drawing a blank.
Jamar
Chase and Higgins. He's already testing the waters. He was already pretty vocal about wanting the payday and being treated as a number one, just like an Adams, if you will. If they don't want to be here, let them go. Don't break the bank. Don't use the tag. Let them go. So that you have this problem where you have half of your roster, half of your cap locked down with 3 or 4 guys, but then one of those dudes already didn't really want to be there. Let them go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you want guys on your team who are unselfish. Bill's got guys on their team who are restructuring their contracts. Matt Milano just took a $3.6 million pay cut to restructure his contract. So I don't know what they're going to use that money for, but just doing shit like that. Josh, he's getting the bag. So the numbers are minuscule, but just even his mindset of saying, hey, man, I'm not trying to fuck this team over, okay? Pay me what I'm worth, what I think I'm worth, absolutely. But the ultimate goal, the Tom Brady effect, man, the ultimate goal is to win a championship, and we need money to be able to get players to do that, right? So it's that mindset. That all starts with what we talked about earlier and talk about culture. That's created by the culture of the team, and it's team first over individuals, and that's how you want to set up your team. So yeah, you hope you find guys right from the jump. Like you guys have a guy, Terrion Arnold, man. You drafted him whenever it was, but from his first interview, dude was like, "Yo, you guys picked the right guy. I'm coming in." That's the kind of attitude that if you infect the whole locker room with that, that's the kind of stuff where guys are taking pay cuts to stay there. Guys are happy to be there and want to be there, and that's the kind of team you want to build.
Agreed 1,000%, man. I couldn't say it any better myself. These are the guys that will continue to develop, and then they're in with this culture fit. These are the guys that will convert money to bonuses.
Yeah.
These are the guys that'll take less money to stay. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to undervalue any of these guys. It's a very violent game. Their window to make this money and get that second or third contract, if they're lucky, is very short. You got to pay them what they're worth, but you get those guys that are vocal about wanting to be here. Even if it's lip service, they're not going out on X. They're not getting on ESPN saying, I'll go anywhere that gives me the bag. Even if they want the bag, you got those guys saying the right thing. It's so valuable to fit the locker room, to fit the culture, and to know that they're open to restructuring and things like that. It's you get a guy like St. Brown, you give him a bag, and then down the road he'll convert to bonus. If he gets, or when he gets his third contract, you won't have to give him, Jerry Rice money because he's invested in what you got going.
Yeah. It's about winning.
Yeah, and that's part of the factor, I think, in re-signing some of these guys. If you know that you can work with them, they'll defer and kick money down the road and take bonuses and give discounts. That's such a valuable asset to have when it comes to negotiation. And they're getting paid, dude. They're not getting fire sold here. They're getting paid, and they deserve to get paid. But it's that mentality.
Well, speaking of getting paid, I think we have to end this because I gotta take this kid to soccer, and I've got about 9 minutes to eat dinner. So,
what's on the menu?
Whatever the hell I can eat in 9 minutes. That's pretty much what I'm gonna have. So, I just want to say thanks. Our average viewership is up to 8.5 minutes now, so the chances of people watching this portion of the podcast are 0%. So, just continue to subscribe. We're up to 94 subscribers now. And we got about 1,000 shares on a short last week, so we're starting to really get this thing rolling. With that being said, I bid you all adieu.
Deuces.
See ya. Till next time.